Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dr. Julian Novoa. I wanted to talk about the Brittany Watts case that's been presented in social media and on the national news. Now, for those of you that don't know her history, let me go over that really fast. Miss Brittany Watts is an African American woman who lives in Ohio who presented on September the 19th to Mercy St. Joseph's Hospital with complaints of pelvic pain, vaginal bleeding, and spontaneous rupture of membranes or leaking of fluid. She was diagnosed on labor and delivery on September the 19th with a 21-week, 5-day pregnancy with advanced dilation of her cervix and rupture of membranes. So she technically had a non-viable pregnancy, but the caveat to this is this situation. If you can help a woman with a pregnancy at 21 weeks and 5 days to last even 5 to 7 days longer, there is a high probability that you can save the baby. Just because you have a non-viable pregnancy doesn't mean that the baby is not alive. The baby is alive, okay? So my question to Mercy St. Joseph's is exactly what did you tell this woman before she was discharged home? That despite the fact that she has a non-viable pregnancy at this point, was she told that if she was able to go just a few more days that she would probably be able to save her baby's life? I'm not sure. That's not written in any of the notes yet or from the coroner's report. So on September the 19th, she showed up there at 21 weeks and 5 days. On September the 20th, she left the hospital and returned the same day on the 20th with the hope that she'd be able to have an induction of labor with the termination of the pregnancy. This went before a medical committee because Mercy St. Joseph's is a Catholic hospital and therefore they do not believe in termination of pregnancies in Catholic hospitals. It goes against their tenets as a Catholic institute, and therefore she was not able to get the termination of pregnancy and went home. And she returned on the 22nd of September with having passed the baby or the fetus, but having not passed the placenta. When she was in the emergency room, an ER nurse called 911, and that got the authorities involved. The police and detectives went to her home, and they broke apart her toilet and found the fetus inside of the toilet, and she was subsequently arrested for the abuse of a corpse, and she's being prosecuted on a felony charge for that. So I just wanted to quickly go over what is the Ohio standards related to abuse of a corpse. No one except, quote, no one except as authorized by law shall treat a human corpse in a way that the person knows would outrage reasonable family sensibilities. Also included in that, in another line, is outrage reasonable community sensibilities. So here's my question. Exactly what was Miss Watts told before she left the hospital? Was she advised that she could stay and she could be treated with IV therapy, IV antibiotics, that she could be given magnesium sulfate or other medications to prevent her from contracting, that she could be placed in Trendelenburg position, and if she could last 1 more week or 5 more days, her baby would have survived? Or could have survived with a 5% to a 40% possibility that this could have happened, or was she simply discharged home? That's so important to understand, because if you don't give the proper information, what was the hospital expecting? Was it actually assisting in a loss of the pregnancy? Because by not giving this information, it only gave her one option. What were the expectations of the hospital by discharging a woman at 21 weeks of pregnancy with an inevitable loss of her baby, when they're going to send her home? She's going to deliver at home. Okay, she's going to deliver at home. Where else do you think that she's going to deliver? Okay, so for most of you, or the majority of you that don't understand, a 21-week pregnancy is about 11 inches long and about 4 inches in diameter circumference. This is too large of a pregnancy, or too large to pass through a toilet. So most women that are having miscarriages at this gestational age are more likely than not going to go into the bathroom. It's a safe place for them. If they can, and they're going to probably be sitting on the toilet with all of the cramping and the bleeding and the fluid that's passing. When they do pass the pregnancy, if you look, you're looking at something that's basically horrific for most people. Okay, it's even shocking for those that are outside of the field of obstetrics and gynecology, and sometimes it's actually even shocking for someone like myself who specializes in this. So What is the most common reflex for a person that sees something like this? They're going to see a fetus with transparent skin that looks red, all of the blood. What they're going to want to do is automatically, as a reflex, just flush. Okay, that's what most people would do. So you cannot hold her to a different standard than the average person. You cannot hold her for something that would outrage reasonable family sensibilities or reasonable community sensibilities. There is no sensibility or focus of sensibility when you're looking at something as horrific as this. The most common reflex of anybody is to flush the toilet, and that's what probably got her reflex was. Her desire to go to the hospital multiple times, especially after her miscarriage, was a cry for help, and she should have been treated differently. Absolutely been treated differently. So now let's move on to this nurse. I wanted to address or put something out there. Many times a medical situation, as horrific as it is, and the more horrific that it is, tends to give the idea to the average layperson that there may have been something wrong, something bad that happened, improper that happened, or criminal that happened. So keeping that in mind, with the loss of a pregnancy at home or a miscarriage at home, it may, to the layperson, give you the idea that something criminal in nature occurred when it never did. Okay, this ER nurse, should be written up. She should be written up by the ER department. She should be written up by the OBGYN department. Her case should be sent to the nursing board. Why? Because she breached chain of command. She breached chain of command. If she thought that something criminal had occurred, she should have talked to the ER doctor, the chair of the ER department, or the OBGYN, and gone up the chain of command. When you don't know what's going on, you don't call the authorities in a medical situation. You call the chain of command so that you can address it. And if someone can tell you why it's not a criminal act, you could have nipped it in the bud right there. So she should be reported to her nursing board, the Ohio Nursing Board. And this should be an investigation related to the breach of chain of command, because had she done what she was supposed to do, what she was obligated to do, we may not even be talking about Ms. Watts' case as a criminal case. Next, once you do ring that bell, once you do activate a criminal investigation, what do you expect? The authorities don't know what to do. When they go to her residence, they're going to find a fetus in the toilet, and of course this goes down the wrong way. You have to again think about the mentality of a medical situation versus a criminal act. There was no intent of malice or criminality related to this. This is something that happens every day for women. They should not be treated this way. Okay, so I wanted to address it in that way, because this is not going to, just so that you understand, miscarriages occur in about 15% of pregnancies. So it's less common in once you get to 21, 22 weeks, but it still occurs. So here's the key. If we do not change how we consider miscarriage in the second trimester, we're going to have so many more women that have to face these situations, and also the criminality of miscarriage when it doesn't need to be, or it should not be considered a criminal situation, because there was no intent there, especially in this particular situation. Next, doctors are going to need to change their protocols, and hospitals are going to need to change their protocols, that just because you have a spontaneous rupture of membranes and advanced dilatation at 21 weeks or 20 weeks, that you tell them that the baby is non-viable. They should be kept in the hospital and treated as such, to prevent all kinds of things, to prevent infection, to prevent excessive bleeding and hemorrhaging, and possibly to preserve or help that baby survive to 22 to 23 weeks. By the time she went back at 22 on the 22nd, she was already at 22 weeks. Had she gotten just a little bit more help from that hospital, there's a good chance that that baby could have survived. Now, what are the chances? As high as you read the documents that I posted here, it can be as high as 40%. I, for example, have had a number of cases where we were able to save babies at 21 to 22 weeks and get them into the 23rd and above. And I have even what I call my million dollar babies, where I had one that ruptured at 16 weeks and we were able to get her to 23 weeks. So please keep that in mind, that hospitals, doctors, and the entire OBGYN field is going to have to change its protocols and its management of spontaneous rupture of membranes at 21 weeks, especially in in states where abortion is no longer allowed. That's my comment and for today. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.